Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how I can paint and mix textures in Blender, so let's get started. First, at your model, I'm going to press Ctrl+3 to subdivide it and go to the modifier properties and set the render to 3. Depending on your mesh, you might not have to subdivide it, but I did it so it looks smoother. Now let's right click, Shade Smooth and go to the Shading tab. As always, I'll use this HDRI here. You can find a link to that in the description. Go to Rendered View and go to the Render Properties. Go to Film and make it transparent. Click on New and add an image texture. Ctrl-Shift-Click on it and click on New. I'm going to call it Suzanne and multiply the width and height by 4. You of course don't have to do this. Obviously, the higher the resolution, the more processing power it will need. Click on OK. Add a mix RGB and put it here. Now let's use the factor here. Make this white and the other one black. Let's go to Texture Paint. As you can see, we've got the UV map of Suzanne here. You might have to unwrap your model to see this. To do that, just go to Edit Mode, press A, U, and go to Smart UV Project and set the island margin to 0.05. If you have a more complex model like a sculpt for example, I recommend that you place the seams manually. Go back to Texture Paint mode and up here, click on the mouse wheel and drag and click on the X. Now if we draw on Suzanne, as you can see it will mirror it on the X-axis. And this is important. If you see the star icon here, this means the image is not saved, so you'll have to save it externally under Save As. If you close Blender without saving the image, Blender is going to ask you to save the image again, but you don't have to do that. The problem with not saving the image is of course that you will have to draw everything again if you need it again. Now let's go back to the Shading tab and delete the Mix RGB. Bring the image texture over here for example and add a color ramp. Put it here and plug the color into the base color and Ctrl-Shift-Click on the principled BSDF. Let's make the black a light gold like this and the white a dark gold. So I simply brought down the white here. Now hit Shift A and add a Musgrave texture. By the way, if you want to have these previews here, you can get the no preview add-on for the link in the description. Set the scale to 400 and the detail to 15. With the node ring add-on installed, select the Musgrave texture and press Ctrl T. And use the object coordinate. Connect the height to the factor. Let's also set the dimension to 0. Now add a noise texture and let's plug the factor into the normal. Set the scale to 10, the detail to 8 and the roughness to 0.45. Now connect the vector to the vector here. Add a bump node, put it here and set the strength to 0.5. Let's use the height instead. Select all of these nodes, press Shift D and put them down here. Ctrl-Shift-Click on this principled BSDF here and let's set the strength to 0.008. Set the scale here to 12 and the detail to 15. Now go to the color ramp and I'm going to make this a dark blue and this one a light blue, like this. Add a mix shader, put it here and put this one in the top. Let's take the color of the image texture and plug it into the factor. Save if you haven't already and go to Texture Paint. Let's go to Preview mode. I don't recommend that you draw in this mode, I just want to visualize it. Now as you can see we can mix these textures here. So as you can see, I just drew over the entire eye, and If you want to, you can also create a texture for the brush. To do that, go here to the texture properties, and you can also use an image or movie texture, but I'm going to use the clouds texture, for example. And now if I use it, as you can see, we've got something like this. I'm going to undo this again, go back to layout mode, and going to start view by pressing 3 on the numpad, press R and Control and G Z to move it up like this. Now rotate it again slightly and G Z. Now press delete on the numpad and let's move our view like this. And hit Shift A and add a camera. Control Alt 0 to go into camera view and G Z to move it on the local Z axis and move it over here. Hit Shift A to add a plane and scale it up like this. Add an empty plane axis and go up here to snapping and select face. Now if you press G and Control, it will snap to the faces. I'm going to set this back to increment. Select the camera and go to the object data properties, enable depth of field and select the empty. Now let's go to rendered view. I'm going to set the f-stop to 0.7 and the blades to 16. In the render properties, go to color management and set the look to very high contrast. Let's select Suzanne again and go back to shading. I'm going to set the scale of this noise texture to 40. Let's save again and go to compositing, enable use nodes and add a denoise node set to accurate and enable denoising data to get these outputs. Now save again and press F12 to render. So that's it with the tutorial. I hope you liked it. Please let me know what I should do next and I'll see you next time.